Hello and welcome back to the to the Making Fire podcast. Take one. This is the podcast where two longtime besties talk about their favorite TV show, Survivor. This week we will be covering episode 9 of Survivor season 48. But before we get into it, I have to ask Riley, how are you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
What?
What did you say? What was that?
Oh no, I'm sorry, what?
Oh no, what was that? The new song by Lorde, her new single. I'm wearing my melodrama shirt today in response to her newest single. I stand with her.
In solidarity.
In solidarity with Lorde and her new single. You guys, I don't know if you can tell by the vibe right now. This is our second time filming this intro, so that joke went really well the first time. You guys are gonna just have to believe me. But Lorde dropped a new single last night. It's a Good Friday. Good Friday. I think that was last Friday.
I think that was last Friday.
It's a Good Friday. And today's Thursday. It's not even. It's not even Friday. It's not Friday. It's fully Thursday. It's going to be the Thursday the day before Friday. And the week after Good Friday.
The vibes are just so giving Good Friday.
I found out that you're not supposed to eat red meat on Friday. Or on Good Friday.
Yeah?
Did you eat red meat last Friday?
I don't really eat red meat very often.
So true, and I don't either. So, here's tea. Everybody, I'm so excited that Lorde's new song is out. Go stream it. I listened to it for like 30 minutes last night. It was so good. I also am so excited that Drag Race All-Stars was announced yesterday. It was so exciting. I'm livid. I couldn't be more excited. It just feels unnatural talking about it because I've already talked about it. And now I'm like, anyway, I'm trying to remember what I said, but I'm excited for All Stars. It's the Drag Race season 17 ended last week. Some of the fun things on this season are with the cast. Lydia Butthole Collins is back on after season 17 ended, but it only ended a week ago. And so the turnaround is crazy. She only had like a week to get her looks together, apparently, allegedly. So that's super exciting. I'm super excited Aja is back. That is one of my faves. I'm going to be standing Aja throughout the season. It's going to be amazing. Everybody go follow along. I feel like there was another queen I talked about.
Ginger Minge.
Ginger Minge is back on her third All-Star season. Good for her. Get that bag. But it's good. It's the biggest cast ever. It's a cast of 18.
That's crazy.
I know. But I'm super excited. It's going to be fun. So, Good Friday. New Lorde song is out. Drag Race All-Stars was announced. And I'm sure a lot of other great things are going to happen on this very Good Friday. David was eliminated last night. Amazing things are happening. Maddie, how are you doing? I have to ask.
Oh, thank you for asking. I am so good. Just a quick update on the hair from last week. I
can't wait to hear it.
I did go ahead and not cut the bangs. Because ultimately I should not trust myself with scissors. And you know what? I was this close to doing it. Literally the scissors are still in the bathroom. Hair was parted and ready to be cut. And then I said, you know what? Put those down. And let's just maybe move up those hair appointments. Maybe let's just schedule one 4 months out instead of 6. And I think, treat myself, put the scissors down, self-care, all of that. So the hair is still hairing, getting longer by the day, but that's fine. The other thing I wanted to talk about this week was the books I've been reading. I finished. This feels so unnatural.
It does feel really unnatural.
2 books this week, guys. I finished the first book in Outlander, which I had talked about previously, I believe, and it was so good. Even though I've seen the show, it's just like I feel like the books are even better having watched it, and it's so much fun. But the ending of it is very just dark and heavy and sort of depressing all around. So to lighten the mood, I did go ahead and read another murder mystery book. And this one was fun. It was called How to Solve Your Own Murder. And it takes place in the English countryside with Great Aunt Frances. When she was 17 years old, I believe, she was given a fortune that said, hey, guess what? You're going to be murdered someday. And she spends the rest of her life trying to solve who done it or who was going to do it. And she leaves, she leaves no stone unturned. She really went deep on every single person in her life and why they might have wanted to murder her. She kept every single receipt ever. And so, after she was murdered, her great niece steps in and is like, I've got to solve this murder. And basically the story just goes back and forth between present day, the great niece, and Great Aunt Frances's diary from, I believe, like the 60s or something, a long time ago. And they just try and solve it, and it's so good and so fun. And I was so bummed that the book was over, but then I was like, oh, I've heard rumblings of a sequel, if you will. Guess what? The sequel comes out in 5 days. So now I'm going to
GAG
immediately purchase that and read it. I'm so excited. So if you want like a fun, it's not like a sad murder mystery because, not a spoiler, she didn't really know the great aunt at all. She'd actually never met her before. So, like a little twinge of sad because she's like, oh my God, I'm only getting to like meet her in death and like learn about her life after the fact. But it's just fun. So highly recommend. But let's just get into the Survivor episode.
Let's just get into it. We cut a whole 2 minutes off that segment, everybody.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Anyways, okay. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
No one mourns the wicked.
War is over. David is gone. And I have a feeling is going to be the most bitter juror. And I'm here for it. I'm so happy. What were you going to say?
I think that there's going to be a couple bitter jurors. I feel like Chrissy, even though David is on the jury now, I do feel like Chrissy's going to put up a good fight for that title as well.
I hope so too. And I know they're going to fight it out in the end of who should win. I feel like
if you really think about it, Girls So Confusing is about Chrissy and David. It's so confusing sometimes to be a girl.
I feel like it's more about like Camilla and David. But anyways, we open on the tribe coming back after the Chrissy vote, and Shaheen says that Chrissy had to go home after she was throwing his name out and sort of targeting him. But he's like, I don't really know why she had a problem with me when she seemed to have a problem with the strong men. But I'm also like, yes, but you are also part of their alliance. So like, I hear you.
I see you.
Unfortunately, you are in the Strongman Alliance, but you might not sort of identify with that. And that's just like how you're feeling about yourself, not what I'm saying.
Right. That's what we as an audience are getting information from you.
From the source.
Right.
Right.
Primary.
David then tells Camilla that he only floated her name out as a backup because, what if Chrissy played her shot in the dark? And she says to his face that it's okay. He's a terrible liar.
Gag him for me, Camilla. Gag him.
He just like doesn't even know what to do with this, I feel.
No, which is understandable because I also don't know what I would have done. I feel like I would have been like, oh, so we're thinking the inside thoughts out loud right now. Like, I truly don't know if I was David how I would have responded to that. But she gets her 10s from me, that 8.
After the tribal performance from her too, he's like, get off my neck, Camilla.
Literally.
Literally. And then in a confessional, she again is telling him, go to those Olympics, buddy. Get off of my beach. And then David, and in his confessional, it's like, I need to get to the bottom of why Kyle didn't want to vote for Camilla so bad. What is up here? And as much as I dislike David on the TV show Survivor specifically, he really was onto this, and sort of no one else seems to care.
No, he definitely. I feel we'll get to. I'm not gonna go too in depth, but he definitely. I was like, you're on the right track right now.
He has a point,
and I can't blame you for your response to that. It was sort of the way you went about approaching it that was not great. But no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. Well, after the theme song, we open the next morning on, again, this group of 6 sort of chilling on this log on the beach that they love to talk about stupid things with.
I know, this log is sort of
this
a featured
longest
character.
yeah, it's another member. It's another tribe member on that beach. Eva is thrilled about everything that's happened, and she's like, "Who are we gonna start picking off next? Pick them off one by one." Oh, it made me mad. Anyways, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say anything. I was gonna let you speak your truth.
Oh, I'm not. I'm actually gonna keep quiet, but it's fine.
Got it.
They talk about who their next target will be, and David still wants Camilla out, and the rest of the group is just like, yeah, okay,
We'll
well,
do whatever.
we'll do whatever. While Kyle's like internally freaking out again.
Literally.
Oh, he needs a real vacation after all of this.
No, he does. This sounds very stressful.
Yeah. So at this point, Kyle is ready to play. He's over this. So he pulls Shaheen aside and is giving him the play-by-play of what went down yesterday. And Shaheen is happy to team up with Kyle to get rid of Mary and take a cut at David because this cannot go on. David and Mary then are trying to get Eva as mad about the Kyle, Shaheen, Camilla thing as they are. And she just fully is not saying it. She's like, why are you guys so paranoid? Why can't we all be friends? And you go.
This is where I'm going to say my thoughts on Eva specifically, like in the lens of this episode specifically. And I think she says this in confessional, that she's having a hard time understanding where the paranoia is coming from, specifically because she just can't tell who is lying to her. Like, to her, if you're saying something to her face, that's the truth. Like, you're saying it how it is, and you're saying your thoughts. She doesn't understand the full context of everything going on, I think. So in that reasoning, I can understand why she wants to keep this core six together, because in her head, obviously that's the best move for her and probably for like Joe, but it's just a little oblivious isn't the word that I want to use, but like on that same realm where I'm like, you have to like. The lines aren't. It's not as clear cut as you thought it was going to be. There's very clearly infighting happening at the moment.
I think, like, it's not even just Eva. Like, both her and Joe are so sort of like insulated that then they just don't get it. Like, they just have a hard time. I think Joe even is like in a very similar position to Eva, where it's just like, oh, these other sides are fighting, but like, bro, why?
No, yeah, bro, they love fighting.
They love fighting. Yeah, and like, I think with Eva, it's not even that people are lying to her, like, but there's just no heat on her right now,
right?
And so she just like doesn't see where they're coming from. And I think like maybe David and Mary are also getting frustrated because they're like, no, this is so obvious that they're I guess a trio sort of.
Yeah.
Why aren't you upset about this? But then also I feel like, I don't know, Eva's also probably like, well, you guys are also, I'm with Joe. You two are together. Like, why can't they be together?
Right. And why is that such a big problem for you and I think it comes down to David wanting to have the most control. Like, David wants to be the one that has that +1 in this group over someone like Kyle or Shaheen. Because I don't even think I think what started all of this, if you were to place blame, it would be on Mary and David, because they really started the the paranoia early. And they were concerned that they were going to be the ones being gunned after by Camilla and Shaheen, or Camilla and Kyle. But in actuality, that was never really the case. Like, it was never... Camilla was not wanting to go after David or Mary. And so... but then, obviously, once the paranoia starts, and then Shaheen, Kyle, and Camilla are catching on, then obviously that shifts the narrative, and then it's like, oh, Mary and David can be like, oh, we were right the whole time. They like wanted to get after us.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Focusing on Eva, like, makes the most sense. It's the best position for Eva to be in, to be insulated while these two sides of their alliance is fighting. They're not the main target. And then you have like three people on the outside that can still be like the bait. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it makes the most sense for them to work together. And I understand why she wants to like keep pushing that. But I feel like it's a little, you're not seeing the whole picture.
Yes, for sure. And it's like you aren't as worried about things as maybe you should be.
Right. Like, I would be a little bit more concerned that my alliance
It's crumbling.
that insulated me is now crumbling. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And sort of pitting me against everyone else. And I've
Right.
sort of been pitting myself against everyone else. The way I'm
Right.
like talking about them and not talking to them.
Like, want to get them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also have David and Kyle, who are sort of just rehashing the previous day, and they're both just still pushing each other about we need to get Camilla out versus why do we need to get Camilla out? And even other people are stepping in like, okay, we've kind of been over this.
I think the biggest issue with David on the island is his style of communication. I just don't think it meshes with anybody's other than maybe Mary's. David is really confrontational.
Yeah.
As we see later, Kyle sort of breaks this down on why that's sort of like triggering for him. But David is very confrontational, whether he knows it or not. I don't think he knows the way that his language comes across, the way that he talks comes across to people. I
Yeah.
don't think he fully processes that the way. I think he thinks he's just being investigatory. That's not a word.
Investigative?
Investigative.
He's just sleuthing around.
Sleuthin'. He's a sleuther. I think what he thinks in him asking questions comes off as very, not demeaning, but very, like, accusatory. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Okay,
my
big
vocab.
words.
Okay, vocab. It's coming off accusatory. Specifically, as we see later with Joe. But, like, when you come up to Kyle and you're like, why are you doing this, man? I thought I could trust you. Kyle's like, you can trust me. Like,
You're
I'm just, like, what is this all about? I just think David's biggest downfall is his style of communication. It just was not working in the way that he thought it was working.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I feel like this goes into like Chrissy last episode of like
Right.
how this alliance talks to people. Like David is very much doing a lot of the talking and it's not really getting anyone anywhere. It's sort of causing problems. So, yeah. But later that night, as they're all having a snooze, Eva sort of is up. And she's ready to sneak out of camp to snatch that advantage that she got handed to her in the clue at the Chip Bowl reward last episode.
The taco reward, specifically.
Taco reward, Chip Bowl.
Right.
I want tacos.
That was very millennial core. Oh, I want tacos, Merp.
Anyways, Shaheen also wakes up. And we have the creepiest shot.
I literally was about to say, this is one of the scariest things I've seen whatsoever. Like, I got a little jump scare.
We have Eva sort of walking away, and in the background we have the shadow figure sort of rise up, and it is just a grown man, Shaheen. Terrifying.
Over. Yeah.
It's incredible, actually.
Quite scary.
But quite scary. And Shaheen is like, okay, this has to mean something. What is she doing? So he goes and wakes Joe up and is like, yo, Eva just left camp. Keep an eye out for her. Don't fall asleep until she comes back. I feel like I would have followed her. Like, I see how it plays out, but I still think it would have been funny if he was just like lurking in the woods.
Right, as
behind
she was
her.
doing what she was doing.
That's what I was kind of hoping for. But anyways, Eva then pulls up to these lit torches that are down the beach, which I think
Hey.
I wonder how far away it was.
Because it had to be far enough because she was speaking at like full volume.
And when there's like no light, I feel
Right.
like any light in the distance is pretty noticeable.
Right.
So she went on a little hike, I guess. And basically she has the option to just gets an extra vote. Just like gets that right away. Or she can risk it. And there are two little tubes, and one of them is a safety without power. The other one is just, hey, you walk away with nothing. She decides to risk it and gets the safety without power. And then she can risk it again and has a 1 in 3 chance of picking a scroll with a hidden immunity idol. If she picks the wrong one, she gets nothing. She decides, hey, I've already got one of those. I'm actually just going to keep the safety without power advantage. And she makes her way back to camp.
I wonder, this is something I've thought about in the past. I feel like we've discussed it in the past, but I know this is at least something that I've thought about within my own little noggin. That I wonder, what is the... Is a safety without power more desirable than an extra vote? Because to me, in my head, I feel like you probably should have started with the safety without power and then risked for an extra vote. But then, because part of it is, I go back and forth. That's not like a final thought. I feel what's more powerful, obviously, is like your vote is one of the most powerful things you have in the game, if not the most powerful thing you have in the game. And so having 2 of those, to me, is pretty powerful. But then the idea of having a safety without power is you have secured safety, but then you don't vote. And so you're losing part of it. So it's just like a back and forth thought thing. Like, I don't know which one has more benefit, I guess.
I think it's kind of like offensive versus defensive
That's
play.
a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have the extra vote, then it just guarantees that like obviously you have an extra and like that's a whole other person that you don't have to get on your side. Or, you know, you're just like, hey, I'm actually just going to go ahead and be safe and take myself out of the situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I don't know. I love safety without power is one of my favorite advantages.
I really like it because it's just like, it's not doing too much.
Right. It's not doing too much, but then you still get the drama of like an idol play, right? You get the drama of playing the idol. You get the drama of being like, actually, Jeff, I'm going to go back to camp. Like that. Yeah. And then you get a little scramble, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
You said, Jeff, I'm feeling a little tired. I'm actually just going to go take a snooze.
Take a little 30-minute.
Yeah. Come find me when this is all over.
Right. I'll catch up with y'all later.
Now, what annoys me about all of this is just going back to, I will not rehash all of last episode, but the fact that, like, this was handed to the winner.
Right.
Is, like, super annoying. And it's also annoying that, like, it's something so... I feel like it was... Obviously, Shaheen woke up. But most of the others had no idea that this happened. Right. And so I feel like when Rachel got her little thing in her bowl from last season, it was, like, crazy. Do you remember? It was on the shelter at camp. And she had to do it with everyone around.
She had to, like, cut the tarp.
Yes, be so sneaky. And so I'm like, okay, you're already handing this to the person who got immunity last week. So, okay, you're guaranteeing that they have it again if used correctly, obviously. But then, like, I don't know. It just feels like too easy, in my opinion. And then for the consequences to just be like, okay, you go back with nothing is like, okay. Which I think normally I like that if it is like in a different way, but just the circumstances surrounding how this advantage came to be is just a little bit frustrating.
No, it is frustrating. And I don't know. I was thinking about that. That wasn't something I did talk a lot last episode, but I don't know. We didn't really go too in depth with it. And obviously we don't need to rehash it, but I feel like that it was brought up last week after the episode aired. I didn't see a lot of people talking about it post episode airing about the weird circumstances in which Eva got this advantage.
Really?
I mean, I definitely saw people talking about it that night, maybe the day after.
Oh, but I saw a lot on TikTok.
Oh, yeah. I don't really get a lot of Survivor TikToks. Most of I get is on Twitter. So, but yeah, it's a really interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. So, well, the next morning, Eva tells Kyle, Joe, and Shaheen about what happened last night and the advantage she got. So, you know, I thought when she was saying a few minutes ago that, oh, everyone knows about my idol, I'm going to keep this to myself, that would mean, hey, I'm sort of not going to tell anyone. I thought she would probably tell Joe, maybe. But then also I was like, oh, she doesn't tell Joe. But I think Joe would be like, oh my God, yeah, look at Eva go. I don't know. I just wouldn't tell so many people.
Right, like the four of them. I think this was a good, obviously, it ends up being a good move for her because
Yeah.
had she not told Shaheen, I think it would have made this vote a lot messier.
Yeah.
I think Shaheen would have been more like
Yeah, like, I
antsy
know
to
what
do
you did.
something. Right.
But yeah. Anyways, Shaheen and Joe are happy that she came to them about this. But then as Mary walks up, they sort of shift their conversation to, agreeing that Camilla should go home next.
Mm.
Which Kyle's again like just like cringing. Then we finally have Kyle and Camilla getting to have a second to talk on their own. And he breaks everything down for her about what's been going on and also brings her up to date on the advantage that Eva just got.
Mm.
And, I just love, like, people can't keep Camilla's name out of their mouths, even though this was, like, a pretty quiet episode for her.
I was just about to say that my big gripe with this season right now is the edit is so heavily focused on this core. Honestly, the core five minus Mary, like Mary not included, because she got 0 confessionals this episode. The edit is the edit is so focused on the infighting at the moment. But I'm like, I want to know what the bottom people are thinking. What are Mitch and Star and Camilla, like, what are they doing? They're teaching each other how to swim. That's what they're
I
doing.
know. We'll get there. But, like, not to jump ahead, but, like, they're clearly thinking and, like, wanting to do something. Like,
Right.
later in the episode when Star comes up and is like, hey, like, can we do something here? It's like, I think they are just, like, please give us any sort of thing to work on. But no.
It's weird because, like, 2 episodes ago, I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't like it, but I do understand why you're shutting these people out. Because you have a core group. And again, I talked about this last episode, but they're very clearly playing under the guise of, if I just don't say anything, it's not me lying. It's not me breaking my word. It's not me breaking my honor. I'd rather just not say anything than risk breaking that trust or whatever. So it's not... I understand why they didn't do it. I don't like it. But now... when it's getting to the point of so much fighting happening internally.
Multiple episodes.
Right,
too.
like, why aren't we including them more in the narrative?
And I think it would be different if it was, like, one episode where the narrative was, like, it was really important to focus on that.
Right.
But then it's been, like, multiple episodes now, and we've just, like, no signs of Star.
It's interesting, though, because this has sort of been a season-long, not with Star specifically, but a season-long issue/focus, that they've been very clearly telling one specific story. Like, pre-merge, the story was the Ojibwe tribe. Even when they tribe swapped, it was still this idea of Ojibwe, what's going to be the response, right? And, like, Say was very much the star of that half of the season.
Yeah.
And now Say's gone, and it's completely shifted the narrative, but they're still choosing to focus on a very specific group of people telling a very specific story. Which I'm like, okay, it's a TV show, I understand, but what is happening on the other side?
Hoping not... I feel like I'm jumping so far ahead with this. But next episode, after everything that happens this episode, we see that, like, everyone else is sort of going to come together, and now they have numbers. And I'm hoping that, like, maybe we'll get either some sort of shift of the focus, or what they did later in the episode with Shaheen of him planting seeds. I hope we get maybe some good flashbacks of, like, all the scheming that everyone else has been doing this whole time.
And that's us being really hopeful. That's us being Star update stands. At the end of the day, do I think the odds are we're going to get a really strategic back log?
No, not necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
A girl can dream.
Right.
Okay. Then Kyle's started talking to Joe about sort of the issues that he's been having with David and Mary. But then he's immediately interrupted by David. So this conversation has to have a pin put in it. Then, without Kyle around, David starts talking to Joe and Eva about how he's confident that Kyle and Shaheen are working with Camilla and they need to sort that out. Then I wrote, POV, we get to watch David dig his own grave in real time with Joe. Because he insulted Joe in the one way that was like, hurt him the most.
Literally.
He tells Joe that Joe went back on his word about the Camilla vote and when he turned it to Chrissy, which makes Joe so mad. Like, you can just see him. A fire was lit in him regarding David, because he's like, no, that was like a group decision. It's not like I just personally went back on something. Like,
Right.
you voted for
Like,
Chrissy too.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's not like it was a blind side to you. And yeah, like, Joe's word is literally the most important thing to him out there. Why would you ever say anything about that to him?
Right. And again, this is like total communication style thing, because you can even tell that David doesn't think he does anything wrong by bringing it up this way.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I didn't mean to offend you, bro. Like, I was just saying what I saw. So very clearly communication issues. I think that if David had approached it in a not like a matter of fact way, it was more in a questioning way, not like yeah, you turned your word too. Instead of being like, okay, can I talk to you about my feelings?
Yeah, and be like, what made you decide to not go with Camilla yesterday?
Like, why did we as a group end up going that way? Because I sort of
Yeah.
had a preference, and it seemed like you guys didn't have a preference. And then suddenly everybody having a preference towards Chrissy.
Yeah, not you went back on your word.
Right. If you put it in a group scope, it made it seem like a group think issue.
Yeah.
I think you could have had a much better result that would have, I don't know if drastically changed the results of tonight, but I do think that this is what dug David's grave for the night.
I think it had a huge impact on the
Yeah.
rest of the episode. Like, I mean, as we'll talk about, this was truly, like, obviously he's been digging his own grave for a while, but this was like the nail in the coffin that, like, even Joe is like, okay, I don't know if we can really come back from this working together.
And that's a good way. Joe's playing a really good game. I think
Very nonchalant.
very nonchalant. I just want to make it clear, you guys, we went semi-viral on TikTok last week. I don't hate strong men. I kind of like strong men.
Oh.
I don't hate strong men. I don't hate that archetype. Like, it's not some like an archetype that I'm naturally like disdain towards. I just don't like David's character on the show, which I don't think is an unpopular opinion.
Right.
I think he very much is filling sort of a villain type role. Who knows what he's like in real life? I probably will never know. But I don't mind Joe. I like Joe. I like Joe's game that he's playing right now. Is it a little can it be frustrating sometimes, like, just him being in a position of power? Yes, it can be. But I like his game. I think he's playing really well, whether he knows it or not. And I was just about to say that something with him and I can't remember where that point was supposed to lead. But I like his game. And I don't know. I like that he took control. He said, oh, this person, as soon as you say something like that, you're right. There's no going back. You said that, like, as soon as it's out in the air, now Joe knows David's real thoughts.
Yeah.
And as much as David can try to repair that, it's there. And now that's all Joe's going to think about.
Yeah. I think I don't mind Joe in a lot of ways. I really strongly dislike the character of David on the TV show Survivor specifically.
48.
Uh-huh.
Season 48, specifically from episode 8, A Rift Between Us.
Right. I think with Joe, I don't know. I don't love Joe, I'll say. I really don't mind Joe most of the time. I think I don't know, sometimes the way he talks to people I also don't really love. I didn't really love how he talked to Christy last episode, and it does sort of feel like, even in his confessionals, when he's talking about, oh, yeah, it's nice to get to know them, but I'm not working with them. And I just can't say that because I'm not a liar. And I'm like, okay, let's just, give it... If he wasn't... Okay, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. If he wasn't so, on his high horse about the honesty and, loyalty thing, I think I would have a very different... I think I would like him a lot more. Mm-hmm. But, this just preachy narrative of that and all of, the things surrounding that, I'm like, okay, you do seem great in a lot of ways, but I'm having a hard time getting behind your core values.
It's weird because there's definitely people who fill his arc. I'm thinking of Mike from 42 as the most parallel character. And I think that my struggles with Mike in 42 was that he very much was putting out this energy that I am better than you because I never lied type energy. I don't necessarily think Joe, at least yet, well, if he gets to Final Tribal Council, I think that's where it most bit Mike in the butt, was at Final Tribal, where he just would not admit that he struggled with it. So we'll have to see what happens if Joe gets to the end, if he's willing to admit, I went into this wanting to play an honorable game and it just didn't end up that way, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Joe, in that sense, is as, well, I'm inherently better than you because I'm not lying.
Yeah. I feel like he doesn't think he's doing anything dishonest, though.
Yeah, that is the thing that I'm like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think, again, it's not inherently dishonest, but I do think by not playing the game with everybody, by not even like attempting, like, okay, attempt a relationship, but not attempting a working relationship, by just because there's an absence of something doesn't mean it's not dishonest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, just because you're not working with them, which means you can't lie to them because you're never talking to them or never working to them.
Yeah.
To me,
doesn't make it okay.
Doesn't make it okay is what I'm.
And make you like a nice person.
Right. Like, okay, maybe you're not.
And I'm
lying.
sure you are a nice person.
Yes.
Like, I'm not, and I'm also like not trying to say anything
with our firefighters.
So real. I'm really not trying to say anything mean about Joe. I'm just like, I am personally not like the biggest Joe stan.
Yes, I don't think you were. I was just trying to flesh out Joe's character on the show right now.
Love.
And sort of where my pros are with him and where my cons are with him. I think my biggest con in his game is that I'm just not going to work with you. So then that prevents me from becoming a liar in the future.
Yeah.
And he really was pushed to the limits this episode.
Oh, yeah. He
really, we thought Kyle was having a bad episode. I think Joe really
was having to lock in.
Joe was yes.
Yeah. Well, later in the day, we get our first star sighting of the episode. She is with Mitch and Camilla on the beach, and Mitch is giving her a little swim lesson. And I'm really proud of her. Also, that water looked I want to swim in that water.
It does,
I want to be there on that beach with them. Maybe not necessarily playing Survivor in this particular time or like season, but like that's fine. Star says in her confessional that, when she gets home, she's going to be taking some professional swim lessons because she wants to be prepared the next time Joe calls her up to be on.
Jeff.
Did I say Joe?
You did.
It's all the same name.
It is okay. You're right.
She must be prepared next time Jeff calls her up. And so
I love that she's manifesting that Survivor 50 spot.
I was going to say, she said, yes, I will be on Survivor 50. Thank you for asking before I've even played. So I love the optimism.
Very Lydia Butthole Collins, if you really think about it.
Right. Yeah. I wonder what the Star, what is the account called?
Star To Me Updates?
Star...
Is that what you're talking about? The updates account?
Yeah. I wonder what they had to say about this.
I can look it up while you're talking.
I bet they're so excited for her next appearance.
Her in that journey.
Right. Kyle then finally gets to have his one-on-one with Joe on the beach, and he opens up about his story and why he was struggling with the confrontation from David yesterday. Kyle explains that he was sort of a rowdy kid, got a few charges as a kid for alcohol-related things, and he even had to go to jail for a few weeks and had to continue doing school from there. I guess like his professor or teacher had to go to the jail so he could take an oral exam. He was still studying, and yesterday just sort of brought up a lot of things for him that he hadn't had to think about in a long time. And good for Kyle. He seems so cool and successful, so I'm glad that, like, I don't know, he's able to be proud of himself, like, looking back on that. It feels
I know that
like
definitely
he came a long way.
Right. Which is a fun, happy moment. I'm trying to see.
I'll just continue.
Yeah.
Joe feels a lot of compassion for him, and I feel like this conversation was even better for... Let me finish this, then I'll get to you. I feel like this conversation was even better than Kyle could have imagined, coming off of Joe's conversation with David and how, like, upset that left Joe. So then for him to be able to connect to Kyle in this moment is, like, just the best possible thing for him, for, I mean, both of them at this time. And it's just really nice. And happy for Kyle. What happened?
She didn't post about Survivor 50 appearance, but she did post. Again, this is at Starbase48 on Twitter. Starbase48. She said, according to my sources, Star Toomey will be replacing Michael Phelps in the next Olympics. Yes, Mermaid T. And then it's this picture.
Olympian.
And then there was another one that I saw when I was scrolling down about her surviving David's this elimination. Mm-hmm. It says Star fun facts. Star's significant other did not leave her. Star was not the 8th person voted out of Survivor 48. She has placed in the top half of the cast. She has 0 votes against her. She does not hate women. Some of her cast cannot say this. And then...
Not a loser! I love her! Oh my god.
She also had 2 more confessionals in the second boot. Work, Star. No, I do think...
Then the second boot.
Yeah.
And she's been on this long.
You like, something crazy is about to happen next episode. I just know it. This next episode will be Star's Genevieve episode. Mark my words. Mark my words.
Right. Anyways, so Joe then brings sort of all of this that's been, in his head to Eva, and he wants to see where she's at with everything. And Joe's like, I don't like working with David at this point. How are you feeling about it? And she says that she just doesn't really understand why people are getting spooked with each other, and she doesn't like all the infighting in her alliance. And she just is like, well, I'm really in the middle of everything. I want to kind of keep... My priority is to keep everyone together, keep us a strong unit. We'll see how that sort of plays out.
Crickets. I do understand what she's saying. We have to see the big picture, babe. See the big picture.
Yeah. And see your big picture. Like,
right.
Yeah.
This first half of the episode was really top heavy. Usually the way that episodes are broken down, because I was scrolling through ads last night, and this first hour of the episode, first 45 minutes was very not a lot of ads. We spent a lot of time with them on the beach, which doesn't necessarily... We did a lot of strategic talking before we even hit the immunity challenge.
It took so long I actually, at one point we went to ads and I thought it was going to be the challenge next, and I started typing that, and then I was like, oh my god, we're just back on the beach talking. And
it was short ads too, and then the longer it picked up at the end of the episode, but usually it's the opposite. Usually the end of the episode is much quicker. But yeah, it was a lot of different a lot was going on.
Yeah, it was
this
good.
afternoon. We had swim lessons, a lot of strategic talk going on, a lot of one-on-ones. I was like, this is...
Returnee announcements.
Right.
From Star.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy. There was a lot. But finally we get to the challenge, and they have to hold up a little ball while standing on this platform thing. And the ball is they have to hold up the metal frame that keeps the ball pinned against this top post sort of thing on the structure. The reward is ham and cheese sandwiches, peach cobbler, chocolate-covered strawberries, and assorted other things back at camp.
It sounds like they...
have no budget.
It sounds like they went to their craft services table and said, what's left?
And said, guys, we forgot about the reward.
We forgot. We had to give you guys food because y'all have barely any rice.
Right. Yeah. So.
What an interesting, eclectic choice. Not featured at the sanctuary yet again.
No. As much as I make fun of the sanctuary, I do think it's even worse that this is all just sort of happening back at camp. But genuinely, what happened to exciting Survivor rewards?
I don't know.
These have just been letdown after letdown the past few weeks.
It's budget cuts. Y'all think that the government is going down? No, baby. The real budget that's being attacked is Survivor rewards.
Survivor
Y'all
rewards.
thought the Department
People
of
used
Education...
to win cars.
Right, people used to win cars. People used to get baths. They would get flown out to go to China.
The Great Wall of China.
They got to go to the Great Wall of China.
For a night.
Now you're eating melted chocolate covered strawberries in the middle of the forest.
And ham and cheese sandwiches. Right.
We used to be a proper country. That's all I'm going to say.
So we get into the challenge. star drops immediately. Threat level staying low.
Like, why would you want to get her out? She's not a threat to y'all at all.
Not at all. But once again, it comes pretty quickly down to a battle between the strong guys, David and Joe. Kyle hung in there for a little bit. I'll give him, his props. But it looks like David's got it. But he accidentally stepped off his platform.
I've never...
as Kyle did.
I don't remember ever when this challenge has been done, somebody stepping off on accident. And it happened twice this... I wonder if they, like, shrunk down the foot, like, their pedestal.
Yeah.
Or if Kyle and David just have big feet. I don't know. Or, like, they just have bad coordination.
The way they were, like, holding it, maybe they're, like, putting their weight forward and then, like, something sort of happened. Like,
it let go, and then because they were putting all their weight, they just fell. I don't know. But it was weird. If I had a nickel for every time it happened, I'd have 2 nickels. Which is fine, but it's weird it's happened twice, right?
Exactly. So, Joe wins. And Jeff is like, you look so happy, Joe. While David, you have a look of deep despair on your face.
You look like we're going to need to have somebody come step in and have a talk with you. Like,
yeah, you look like you're actually not really doing okay.
Hey, buddy.
Right. And so then Joe gets to pick his people he wants to go on the reward with, who wants ham and cheese sandwiches back in camp. Immediately, he picks Mitch, who hadn't been on a reward yet, and Shaheen as his second person, and obviously Eva as his last pick. And, guys, I'm so glad that I can't say.
What?
I am so glad that he picked Mitch since he hasn't gotten a reward yet. I just like...
What?
I cannot...
What? What is going on?
I cannot imagine being that hungry. Guys, I'm literally losing my mind. I am so hungry right now. I could eat Mrs. E. And I cannot imagine how Mitch felt.
Mrs. E, my second grade teacher?
I'm just so hungry I could eat Mrs. E.
That's crazy because I had a teacher in second grade named Mrs. E. Mrs.
That's
Edinburgh. That's crazy.
Mrs. Joan Edinburgh.
It's June. It was June.
June.
I think it was June Edinburgh. I can't remember. That's
all my
crazy.
sources say.
You know what's really funny?
I'm literally sobbing.
Before we started recording, after our first mistake, we had closed the session. I was scrolling TikTok and I got like 3 of those in a row. And I was gonna say when we hopped back on, I was like, I don't know if you've seen this trend, but I think it's so funny. Not the June Edinburgh Pearl. That is crazy. Maybe it was Joan. I can't remember. That's crazy. How did you find her is the question. On my mom's Facebook?
How do you think I found her?
My mom's Facebook.
No, I texted your mom.
Oh, did you really?
I said, hi, I'm doing a funny little joke bit on the podcast today. Do you remember any of Riley's memorable elementary school teachers?
Yeah, my mom and her were like friends.
Oh, really?
I mean, not like BFFs, but like she was a Asian woman, and her daughter would come and TA in our classes, and her daughter was obsessed with me. Her daughter was like, "Oh my god, we look like we're siblings." That was a crazy pull.
I don't know how people do that trend straight. Like,
I was really confused. I was like, did I miss something in the episode? Like, what is going on right now?
I've also just been like, okay, my original plan was to do that in the like beginning of the podcast episode, but then as I was thinking about it, I was like, no, Mitch is so hungry. I But I was like, it'd be more funny if I like buried it in. But then I sort of have been looking at that in my notes, sort of in all caps, this note for the past like while.
I was like, did I miss something when I was watching the episode last night? No, that was really good. I wasn't expecting it. That was really good.
Thank you. I literally lost all my mascara in that. I was truly sobbing. Anyways.
She was a good, shout out to all the teachers out there. She was a good teacher.
Shout out to the teachers out there.
Yeah. I watched Ponyo, the movie, for the first time in her classroom.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow. Yeah, it was funny because then I had no context, just the name.
Just
and
the
I was
name.
like, I tried looking her up.
I'm having all of the memories. I'm having all. Now I'm like thinking about her classroom. That was so cute. Yeah, I don't know. I think she was older. Her daughter was in like high school, maybe, I think, when I was in second grade. So I'm guessing she was probably in her 40s.
Yeah.
And so I'm guessing by this point, that was how long ago? That was 15 years ago.
Well, shout out Mrs. E.
Mrs. Edinburgh.
It was hard because like we like obviously went to high school together, and so I couldn't like pull any of these names that I know too. So I was like, I've got to just go to the source.
Right. Directly from the tap.
Yeah, and she responded so quick. Shout out to Holly.
She's on vacay right now in New Orleans, so
yeah,
she was turning up and decided. When did you text her this morning?
Like 30 minutes before we started recording. I had the idea.
Love that.
Quick turnaround.
That's so funny.
Anyways, I've collected myself. Let's move on. Back to camp with the losers. Kyle, I'm sorry. I'm like actually still shook at how people do that without like breaking.
It's so, and the way that it's getting progressively more. The TikTok that I saw that I was going to bring up, this guy said, I'm telling my boyfriend I'm so hungry, but it's the guy he's cheating on me with.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. I think they're so funny.
I've been actually like crying laughing.
What was the one it was like her boyfriend or something from high school, but he's a chocolatier, and so did you see that one?
Yes.
He says the name and then goes, the chocolatier.
And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I know I was making a lot of ruckus.
I'm so hungry I could eat Frank.
Frank. He says, what?
He said, what are y'all talking about on there?
He says, what? Okay, go lay down. Thank you. Anyways. Okay. Back to camp with the losers. Kyle tells us that David needs to be consoled by Mary. Mm-hmm. And this for a long time after the challenge. He started saying something and he's like, actually, I'm not going to say that.
I fully think he was going to say they look like they're a couple. And she's...
Is she married?
I don't think she's married, but he was in a relationship at the time.
Yeah, true.
I don't know what that's looking like now.
What their current status is. Well, he didn't win the million, so...
He won 1 million hearts.
I actually don't think that's the case.
Well...
Not everyone can be Banu.
So true.
Mary tells David that the others are gonna start coming for them, for their little duo, and that they need to get Mitch out, because... they're like, okay, maybe it's not a great idea to go for Camilla, because what if Shaheen plays an idol on her?
Right.
Instead, we have to go for Mitch.
I forget how this started. I don't remember.
Didn't
somebody started the rumor?
Didn't Camilla start the rumor?
Yes, Camilla was the one that started the rumor. I heard a rumor.
I heard a rumor
that Shaheen had an idol.
It's even funnier now that her and Shaheen like work together.
Right. She kind of like is relying on Shaheen to stay in the game.
Hey, but this worked out because they are scared to vote for her because of this.
I think it's really interesting that I'm sure we'll get there. I'll wait till we get there about the montage with Shaheen.
Okay, yeah. Then Star sort of pulls up out of nowhere, as I mentioned before. And
really strange. I was like, "Hey, girl,
I forgot out of the bushes.
I forgot you were here, Diva."
She said, "Hey, remember me? I'm actually here too, and I'm actually a person that votes." So, hey, she is like, "Hey, let's vote for Shaheen tonight."
Hey, guys.
She comes in with a plan.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh, like, we wish, but, you know, we've got to go for Mitch because we just can't. We just can't go for Shaheen. Like, sorry. not gonna happen right now. And she's like, hey, I want to start working with the Majority Alliance. If you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
I love her.
Good for her.
She said
for claiming her space on the season.
She said, I'm just going to start going into these conversations.
Right.
Because you're clearly not going to invite me into them. But then we go over to the winning group who's eating their reward food. And the group is talking. But we get a confessional from Shaheen who talks about how, sort of for the past few days, he has been planting little seeds of turning everyone against David, which we get these fun flashbacks of.
I was going to say that I think it's really interesting. This whole segment is interesting, and I feel like this really adds to a potential winner edit for Shaheen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get what the point was.
Mm-hmm.
And I get why they didn't do like a multi-episode lead up to this. Like I get why they just wanted to compile it in one moment. But, and I might argue, yes, he planted the seeds, but I feel like Kyle has been the one putting in the work.
Right.
And I guess you want those seeds of doubt there first, so then the work that happens like has a leg to stand on.
You don't have to work as hard.
Right, but I do feel like Kyle has been the one that has been putting in the most muscle into the move. And I also like this, like we just talked about, this isn't a special thing that happens with Shaheen. Like Shaheen isn't the only one doing this. We literally have seen Camilla's whole thing with the idol. Camilla started this rumor, and it's full grown at this point. Like it saved her this episode. This rumor that she started.
Yeah.
So, like that, I think, I don't know, is more interesting. But I don't, and then it will be a thing. Say we get to a final tribal council, and it's Shaheen, Kyle, and Camilla. Who gets the credit for getting David out tonight?
Right.
Is it Kyle said, well, I put that work in the whole day, but Shaheen says, well, I am the one who planted the seeds the days leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I'd love to see that final 3.
We'll see. We'll see how it works.
So then David and Mary then pull Eva aside about the new plan to vote for Mitch because they are still worried about this alleged idol from Shaheen to be played on Camilla. Eva then brings this to Kyle because she's getting nervous about David and Mary. And I love Kyle. He's like, I've been trying to be diplomatic about this, but we've got to go for David. Like, we're done. We can no longer work together.
It's just not working.
No, and Shaheen's next to him like, yeah, I agree. Eva then brings us to Joe, who tells her that he'll go with whatever she does. Which I'm like, I get it. But they are just like their own little insulated pair. Mm-hmm. It's so interesting. But Eva says in her confessional that even though David and Mary want to work with her, sometimes you need to vote as a team player and think of the future of the group. So, thank you for putting those pieces together, because so true.
So true.
Because, everyone might want to work with you. That doesn't mean it's the right move.
Right.
And this sort of brings us to Tribal Council. Do you have any thoughts before we get here?
I don't think so.
Okay. They talk about how things are shifting as the numbers start to dwindle and they get to the end. And Star talks about trying to bust open the alliance and start working with people. And Eva sort of responds to this and says that her alliance can't be broken into. And she's solid from here on out. And this is where I'm like, okay, I do think, I don't know. There's just, no dynamic gameplay happening from that corner of the tribe.
No, I agree. And we're at the final 9. 6 of these people are about to be on the jury. And if there was I don't know, I wouldn't want to vote for somebody that had no, again, and that's just me. Who knows what who knows who's going to be on the jury, what the next couple of episodes are going to look like. But I just wouldn't want to vote for somebody that had no will to work with me, or even attempt, or even act like they would attempt to work with me.
Exactly. I don't think you saying that makes you sound like a better player.
Right.
It kind of sounds like you're just kind of stuck in your ways, going with however the wind takes you, but not with a lot of agency on yourself. You're relying on this alliance. He is just wide awake right now. Hello. Boop. Okay. Shaheen then points out that finding those strong alliances and sort of breaking into them and taking advantage of them is how Survivor is played. Like, yes, I feel like is speaking up in a better way, more articulate way than Chrissy was the day before.
Right.
We hear from David again, and he says that he feels like this game can be played and won with honesty and loyalty, and he wants to see that on Survivor for the first time. Coming from the guy that literally doesn't watch Survivor. Which, something I think we were talking about just the two of us.
Yeah,
prior
I think
to
so.
recording. But, like, to go back to our TikTok that got quite a few views and comments, people were sort of trying to argue with Riley's rhetorical question of, like, has he never seen an episode of Survivor in his life? And they're like, bro, he literally said he's only seen a few seasons. And it's like, okay, he's only seen a few seasons, like, that is a claim he makes, but then he also makes claims like this, where he's talking about the entire Survivor
Series.
franchise as
Right.
a whole. And it's like, okay, you can't make these big claims, but then also admit that you do not have the facts to back it up.
Right. And I think that's where a lot, at least I know we as a podcast are getting frustrated with David, is that you can't, like, make the claims, but then you can't be mad if I poke holes out your claim.
Or, like, why even make the claims
sorry,
if you...
I'm making it sound like David himself got mad at us. David has no idea we exist. Or who knows? Say knows we exist. Who knows? It's not implausible that he knows.
His demographic in our comments.
Right. This is David has at least
his minions.
Right. David's minions that he did not sick on us. Again, this has nothing to do with David. We're not talking to David personally. This is more to his fan base or to the people that are diehards for David.
Exactly.
That you can't be mad if I'm poking holes or want to poke holes at his claims.
In his hypocritical claim.
He's making very general claims about a TV show that's been going for 25 years and you've only watched a handful of seasons or episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loyalty wins all the time.
Yeah.
I could name winners, but then it's just, I'm going to get attacked again. Attacked, there was like 3 comments of people disagreeing. Everybody else was agreeing with us. But I don't know. It's loyalty wins all the time. But it's like different level, like, I don't know, if you're wanting to be like the most loyal person, and then I'd have to say there's a reason that doesn't win. There's a reason that if you're talking about pure 100% pure loyal games, there's a reason there's not a lot of those winning games. It's because I would argue they're not very respected.
And you know what? I would say try and get to the very, very end with your loyalty game, David. But unfortunately, you are now on the jury bench. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll never get to see your true loyal game.
I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. Anyways, Camilo pushes back on him again and is basically like, hey, you're putting people up there who are going to be mad at you. And like, you can't just claim all this honesty stuff. And this absolutely cracks Star up, which I love.
Me too.
I
And
love
Camilla's
their
like,
little
why are
duo.
you laughing?
They're too silly. And there's lots of other stuff about chaos of pre-tribal and how different people handle everything. But really, let's get to the vote. In the end, 3 votes on Mitch and 5 on David.
Yeah.
But I did write not Star voting with Mary and David, by the way.
Is that what the vote breakdown was?
She was the 3rd Mitch vote.
Love that for her.
Which I am a little bit nervous about how she's going to sort of walk that back when she gets back to camp after,
I feel like she could easily hide it. But then I also
who was the
feel
3rd?
Well, Star doesn't know. Why would Star vote for Mitch?
That's true.
He
was just teaching her how to swim.
I don't feel like that is the. I feel like she is going to be one of the first people to be like, "Sorry, I voted for you." Oh.
Yeah. And David goes home mad, which is too good. And he's on his way to Ponderosa to drink that chocolate milk.
It was really tense. Nobody
Yeah.
said anything as he was leaving. He gave some back looks at people. He had very intense eye contact with Joe. I think Joe, as much as he's going to try at this point, the honesty, it's over. You very
Yeah.
clearly broke even if David did it first, that argument is not going to work in the eyes of jury. Well, I played an honest game, but I did backstab David because David broke his word first, and I thought it was fair game. That's not going to work if you're trying to push a 100% honorable game.
Yeah, you did sort of just ding 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 blindside a member of your alliance.
Right. So I hope moving forward Joe loosens up a little bit. I think that will do him wonders in the front of a jury.
Let's get into the game.
Right, like get a little nasty with it, Joe. Slap somebody.
Yeah.
I think hopefully if he does make it to the end, he has a moment where he's like, I really tried to play this honorable game, and something that I learned in Survivor is it's just not. Mm-hmm. It can only get you so far before you're having to make really brutal decisions against people that you like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I also wanted to point out one thing that Camilla said that I thought was interesting at Tribal Council. She made a comment about how, like, the game isn't really going necessarily how she thought it would and how she thought she'd play because of just the season that she ended up on. She's like, if I were on a season with more, like, goofy people or more just, like, socially strategic people, I think I would be playing, like, a much different game or, like, be able to use my strengths. But because this season specifically is like so full of these buff guys and like strong people and this strong alliance and like how they want to play. She's like, I'm just not really like getting to sort of, play as hard as I wanted to. And I think that is so interesting and such a good point. And I feel like it's the case for a lot of people this
right,
season.
and I think that's a conversation that usually happens after a season is over when people sort of in the viewer space are reflecting on a season like this person could have done better had they had a different cast, or what could have happened. I think it's very rarely a reflection we see from a player while the season is airing, is that who knows what could have happened, but I'm just working with the cards I was dealt.
Yeah, I just thought that was like a really interesting point.
Yeah, I think it is too.
And also just like it really did make me think about just the shift of like, I don't want to say like priorities, but like the narrative this season. Like it is different than a lot of past recent seasons. So anyways, well, that wraps up this episode.
We brought up Banu at one point, and I was watching a compilation of season 46, and that season, I'm glad that we podcasted while that season was airing. What an insane season of Survivor that was.
So
The way that cast hated each other. Like, actually, like, despised each other, like, did not want to see each other do well, like, hated each other is crazy.
I still think about Banu on the ground pleading to Tiff and Tiff being like, I'm not going to talk to you while you're on the ground.
No, stand up right now.
I think about that moment a lot. And
it's just
in general.
So much hatred in a fun way.
Yeah.
Tiff, like, that whole purple tribe, Soda versus Venus versus everybody.
Yeah. Venus versus the world.
Liz versus the world.
That was so true. Oh, I clapped. Sorry. Well, that wraps up this episode.
Great episode.
Good episode. Definitely good to see a little shift from last week.
Right.
Feeling a little nervous now.
I think we're on an uptick now.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen?
This sort of
opened
like
up a whole new can of worms.
Right. This was sort of like a neutralizer episode in a lot of ways, like hopefully of this alliance. And we'll get to see, like, I don't know, it looks like maybe next week the ragtag group is going to be forming some sort of opposition, which I can't wait to see, just any form of opposition.
Right.
So looking forward to that. But yeah, thank you for watching this episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week.
Smooches. I can't wait to see how this turns out.